go. Let's go ahead and ask one more question, because the Muslims will say that was before he was a Muslim. That before he was a Muslim, he was a sinner. But once he became a prophet, he no longer sinned. How do you answer that one?
That is simply a lie. And when they lie, they think they look very pretty. That is simply
Shall we go back to the Quran again?
Surah 47, verse 19. Allah is confronting Muhammad for his sins while Muhammad is practicing Islam.
Why don't we go to chapter 48, verse 1 and 2? Because there it says, O Muhammad, ask forgiveness for the sins you have done and the sins you continue to do. So even as a prophet, he continued to sin.
He cannot complete it. He doesn't speak about the gospel.
Difficulty with that. Even as a prophet, he continued to sin. But that's the Quran.
Answer the simple question.
Come on, debate. Let's debate about Muhammad. Let's debate about Rasulullah. You can.
Don't make a Christmas cake here. Answer the question.
Went to America.
Who are you?
You look nice, you lose weight.
Who are you?
Who are me?
What is your name?
My name. You know my name. When you came, you run away from me like a chicken at the wind. You ran away because
What's his name? Lamin. So he thinks I should know him just because his name is Lamin. That's rather lame, isn't it? Lamin the lame. But let's continue on. We're going back. We did start about the Quran, did we not?
So while Quran tells Muhammad needs to ask forgiveness for his past sins and his future sins, also Tafsir explains what kind of sins Muhammad did.
But before we do that, before we go into what kind of sins Muhammad did, I still want to ask this question. Are there any prophets that were sinless, according to the Quran? Are there any prophets that did not sin, according to the Quran?
Islamic Jesus, according to Surah 19, verse 19, is sinless. Islamic Jesus is their own
given to all the prophets from their Lord. We make no distinction between any of the prophets and to Allah to raise up in Islam.
Chapter 19, verse 19, Jesus is the righteous one. What does righteous mean?
He's the perfect in the eyes of Allah, according to Islam, as well as the eyes of humanity.
Your Allah is liar. Look at this.
Become a Muslim.
His nose.
Look at it. For how many years? Decades.
Jesus is the sinless one, according to chapter 19. What's his name?
Jesus.
What's his name?
Jesus.
Who is the King of Kings? Who is the Lord of Lords? Who is
He cannot debate. He cannot. That's all he knows.
Then rose again.
That's all he knows. That's all
Who
he
then
knows.
went to heaven?
That's all he knows.
Who wants to take you home?
Soco Malaysia.
Who waits for you and me? What's his name? What's his name?
Look at it.
Hear you. Thank you, Jesus, the righteous one.
My problem is, while 1.84 billion Muslims are following man called Muhammad,
Look at it.
history, he made it to the history with his sinful life. On the other hand, we hold perfect God-man, Lord Jesus Christ.
Jay, you are a liar, Jay. Retire. You've been paid. They pay you to come about Islam. Yeah, for how many years? They stop your wages, you went back to America. Now, all the ones have been debunked. These guys, all of them, we destroy all of them, we expose them. Now they pay you to come back here. But you're going to say miserable. Because
They follow a sinful man.
A sinful man. Now, we could just say he's sinful because
Your Allah is liar. Your Allah is liar. Your Allah is liar. Lamin.
he doesn't preach the
Lamin, did Satan all your life here? Can you hear? Lamin, did Satan urinating here? Did Satan urinating here?
I'm here to debate. He got
everything we say.
everything is a liar.
Everything that we're going to read comes from Sahih Bukhari.
You're a liar.
Lamin, come here. Lamin, come here.
I'll expose you as a liar, as a charlatan, as a hate preacher. That's what you are.
He's a Philian child.
Look at that one.
He's a
Where
Philian
is your
child.
hijab? You're not following your Bible.
Lamin, he's a Philian child.
Look at him.
Would you consider someone who took the life of other people because hunger for the money, because love
Now, you haven't proved that yet. You're just saying things off the top of your head. Show me where you can say that Muhammad had a love of money. Show me where you can say that Muhammad killed people. Show me where you can say these things, because that talk is cheap. Support what you've just said. Source what you've just said.
I don't need to source that. All I need to do is go to the earliest biography of Muhammad, Ibn Hisham. In Ibn Hisham, it is, according to Ibn Hisham, Muhammad tortured man called Kinana because he was so wanted his money. He tortured him. It was very, very similar what mafia does.
Okay,
Mafia
so-
says, just a moment, Jay. Mafia says, would you please give me your money? And then you say, no, sorry, I don't want to give you my money. And then mafia comes with the bad guy this time. Give me your money. Man says, no. What mafia does? Tortured people until they find out where the money is.
Yeah.
That's what
Soco, man, Soco. They're insipid. These are insipid. They can't debate. Liar. They can't debate. I'm here.
Listen back to page 515, and let's read it from the authoritative source.
You read it, Jay.
Shall I
Your
read it?
English is very good.
Okay, one of the leaders of Kaiba, Muhammad, wanted him to reveal where some buried treasure was hidden.
Just a
Who
moment, just a
is
moment.
this Kaiba, this man, Kinana?
Just a moment. What Muhammad wants to know where the money is. Muhammad wants to know where the money is. Muhammad is in a Jewish tribe. Muhammad already killed people. Now, all Muhammad left is with a man who knows where the money is.
Okay, hold on a minute. Is Muhammad from Khaybar?
No, Muhammad was a guest to that.
So he was a
Muhammad
guest.
conquered
This was
them.
not even his city. Was Kinana from Khaybar? Was Kinana from Khaybar? Was Kinana from Khaybar?
Yes.
So he was a native.
He was from the tribe of.
So what was Muhammad doing in Khaybar to begin with? It wasn't even his town.
Muhammad was there to get rid of Jewish people and take their land.
So Kinana was a Jew. He's from the Ibn, which family is it? Ibn Nadir family. Ibn Nadir family. Shall I show it to you?
That's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. That's fine.
Banu Nadir, the Ibn
Yes.
Banu Nadir.
Yes.
So we got the Banu Nadir or Ibn Nadir. This is the second family that was thrown out of Medina. Remember, they've already been thrown out of Medina in 625. Now this is 628. They've been thrown out and they've been sent to Khaybar. So he comes up to them in Khaybar. He's already thrown them out of Medina. And Kinana is the one in charge of the money for the Jews. So should we read what happened next?
Yes, Jay. Remember, he asked. Tell me. He is asking very nicely. Since Muhammad is the best example to mankind at all times, as well as he is the perfect for humanity. Asking
Best
very
example
nicely.
for mankind.
Asking
I want you to
very
listen
nicely.
and see if this is the best example.
And
We'll ask you later, okay?
Where the money is.
We'll ask her if this is the best example. Kinana al-Rabi, who had the custody of the treasure of Banu Nadir, was brought to the apostle.
And there is no woman there in the middle.
No woman inside.
That's it.
No woman inside.
In the church.
Yeah.
In the church.
He said yes.
In the
No
church.
woman inside. No. Whichever sex
No
of my
woman
child.
inside.
Whichever sex of my little child.
Yeah.
Whichever sex of my little child. Whichever sex of my little child. Whichever sex of my little child.
And some of the treasure was found. When he asked them about the rest of it, he refused to produce it. So that the apostle gave orders to Al-Zubair al-Alam. So he tells Al-Zubair al-Alam, torture him until you extract what he has. So he kindled a fire with the flint and steel on his chest until he was nearly dead. So he put a fire on his chest until he was nearly dead. Then the apostle delivered him to Muhammad bin Maslama, and he struck off his head in revenge for his brother Mahmud.
Can I break it down? So here's what happens. Men who's supposed to be the best example to humanity,
Yeah.
as well as mercy to the world.
Yeah.
Says, torch him until you find where the money is. Torture him until you find where the money is. He doesn't speak. They torture him. They torture him. That wasn't enough. They put a fire on his chest. That wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. They chopped his head off. Is that the man you want to follow? Is that the man you want to follow, sir?
Ask him. Ask him, he's been heckling.
Nice to see you.
Eat halal like Jesus. Eat halal like
Relevant for today.
Well, nobody thinks that kind of behavior is acceptable these days.
How about any day?
Well, they used to do things like that a lot, and they thought it was okay.
So in the 7th century Arabia, it was okay.
Well,
Do you think it's okay for someone who claims to be the man of God, torture you for your money, and put fire on your chest and kill you for your money?
I don't think it's acceptable at all, but there are people in the highlands of New Guinea who think it's acceptable to eat people.
How about for London? We live in London here.
Definitely not.
Is it good for any place besides London?
No, definitely not.
And why do you say not? What is it that you're going to for your morality, for your moral standard?
Well, I'm going to Jesus and I'm going to the Christian tradition.
I don't know who you are. We've never met before, have we?
No, that's where I'm going.
So you are using Jesus as an example. We're looking at Muhammad. What is it about Jesus that is superior to Muhammad here?
Well, when the woman caught in adultery was brought to Jesus, and they said to him, look, she should be stoned because that's in our law. Which of you is without sin? Whoever's without sin, you cast that first stone. And they all went away because they were ashamed. And that's the principle of Christian civilization.
There you go. That's in chapter 7 of John, verse 52, to John chapter 8, verse 11. So that story you know very well. And that's the story you prefer, right?
That's the way to behave.
But isn't that much older than the Quran?
I suppose it is.
It's about 600 to 700 years older. It should be more barbaric, shouldn't it be? If man is getting better and better, why is it that what Jesus did in the 1st century AD, from your opinion, is better than what Muhammad did in the 7th century AD? 628 to be exact.
There was a man called Waraka bin Naulaf, wasn't there? You've heard of him. He married Khadija and Muhammad, and he was some kind of a Nestorian Christian. You know about this
Waraka
story?
ibn Nawfal was the uncle of Khadija. That's correct.
That's it. And he evidently did not transmit the whole gospel to Muhammad.
Evidently, he didn't get to Matthew 24, even though he was translating Matthew. If only he got to chapter 24, that would have shut down Muhammad. He would have seen Muhammad is not a prophet. But on this particular point that Hatun's bringing up, should we go to another city, let's say come to London, go to people who are Jews or anybody who is, because they were the ones in responsibility in that city. They have money, which is rightly theirs. They were hiding the money, which they can do. Should you come to London from another city, demand that they give you the money, and if you don't give the money, then you torture them, put fiery brands on their chest, and then cut off their head. Is that relevant for today?
No.
Categorically no. Yet this is the greatest example. This is the model for all Muslims. You cannot dispute with Muhammad, and we're reading from his own biography. This is his biography written by Ibn Ishaq and Ibn Hisham, page 515. Muslims, read it, and then come back to me and tell me how you can follow that model. How can you follow that man? I prefer Jesus, don't you?
Well, yes.
What did Jesus say about killing anybody? In Matthew chapter 5, verse 43 and 44, he said, you have heard it say to love your friends and hate your enemies. Verse 44, but I say to love your enemies!
Hey, including him!
Yeah. Do you love them?
Oh, well, God of Bible loves them enough to give his son for them. Of course we do love them, Jay. We want them to come to the true love. We want them to come to the truth. But let me ask the question.
Ask it.
While Muhammad supposed to be the mercy to the world and best example to humanity. Can someone, one of Muslims, please justify for me? One example thinks it's alright to torture people for their money, as well as torture them, and put fire in their chest. But why? Because he wants their money.
Ask him what is the debate. He cannot debate.
Let me.
He can't debate. Ask him what is the debate.
Let me debate.
What is it? Ask debate.
What you saying, Lami?
Ask them to come.
Is that true what you
Come
say,
down debate
Lami?
me. Come down debate with me.
Ask him. Hatun.
Proper debate. Proper debate. 1 hour. I'll expose you.
Sit down with him.
Wallahi, I will expose you. 1 hour each, I'll expose you. Come down, I'm here. They can't.
Muslims come, the speaker's gonna be there in running shoes. We cannot. If you're Muslim, you have nothing to hold on. All you have is nasty biography of Muhammad, whom you follow. It's not only Muhammad.
Simple. There. Godwin. Send him back to America. Stop his wages. Please stop his wages. You're spending too much. I know you're rich. You're paying him. I know you're paying him. Stop his wages. Stop his wages. Stop his wages. Then go back to America.
So you lied.
You can't debate.
So you lied. Okay, come to
He
debate.
cannot debate that. Yeah.
Because
He can't. The Bible.
the only model Muslim have today, yesterday, from the 7th century, today, here, everywhere. If he's the only model you have, and we're reading these from his biography, we didn't write this, did we? We didn't make this up.
Last time when I checked, I wasn't Ibn Hisham, and you weren't Ibn Hisham.
I'm not Ibn Hisham. He died in 833 in the 9th century. And he wrote this down. I'm much younger than him, thank you. Quite a few centuries younger than him.
So, I have a problem, Muslims, and you know you have a problem. And you know one day you will be accountable for those basic questions. I am just being ground for you to practice your answers, because before you end up in hell, Muslims.
The first problem is he
I've
asked
got
us,
some problems.
but we want to do one after another
Okay.
so that we can put them up one sequence after another. Is there another problem with Muhammad? We see, first of all, that he has to ask forgiveness for sins. That is in the Quran. We looked at 3 different references for that, but mostly chapter 48, 1 and 2. We looked then at Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and we also looked at Ibn Hisham to show that he wanted money from extracting it from a Jew living in Khaybar. Now let's go. Is there another problem you can come up with Muhammad?
I have lots of problems, but I want to ask very basic question. How would you feel, sir? I'm going to ask this question to you.
What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew,
Good name.
how would you feel, sir, how would you feel if your wife is being raped in front of you?
Oh dear, that's a bad question.
Why?
That's a terrible question to ask this man.
Come on, you know what I'm going to say.
So what are you going to say?
I don't know, I'm not sure that's
Every creature has got a right to self-defense. You've got a right to defend your wife. I would do everything I could.
That's not, my question wasn't what would you do. My question is, how does it make
How
you
would you feel about that?
How would you feel if someone comes and then rapes your wife in front of you, sir?
I would feel completely outraged.
And yet, that's exactly what we're going to read next. This comes straight out of the traditions on Muhammad. This has nothing to do with Hatun and I. We're going to give you the source for this. Those of you who are watching, we are not making this up. We're going to look and see what Muhammad did and what Muhammad said when his followers did exactly that. Shall we go to it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jay, as you read it, I want people to listen and give extra attention. What is the question Muslims are asking Muhammad? I want people to give extra attention. What is Muhammad's response to the question while people are listening to questions?
Okay, before we begin to the traditions, we need to start with the Quran. because that's the mother lode. That's where every Muslim goes to find out what they're to do. And there are 3 references we're going to do on. One is chapter 70, verse 22 to 30. One is chapter 23, verse 5 and 6. And one is chapter 4, verse 24.
And all of those verses, Allah with his divine knowledge tells human beings, to the Muslims, they can have the woman as a sex slave from the born.
In the Arabic, the translation is that which your right hand possesses. Explain, what does right hand possess?
Your right hand possesses when you go to war, after you kill the husbands, what do you do to the woman? You take the woman as a captive, but their job is
Kryptonite, what happened?
I had with him agreement.
Okay, wait.
3 minutes, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Ali Dawa, come. Ali Dawa.
Is that true, Ali? Is that true, Ali?
Ali Dawa, come.
Nah.
3 minutes, 3 minutes.
Okay.
I said, how long? He said, as slow you wish.
Okay.
He took numbers 31,
Yes.
he read and then walk
And
away.
he run away?
Walk away. But I want to speak with him.
Is that true, Ali?
Ali,
Okay,
come.
Nice. Ali, is that true, bro?
Would you have a sex? Would you have a sex with Muhammad? Ali Dawa.
Ali, is that true, Ali? Ali, is that true? Ali, he's lying. Bora, stop running.
Ali Dawa, shall we speak? Ali Dawa. He's afraid.
No, he's not afraid. No, Bora, you're not afraid, bro. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe Bora is afraid. No way. No,
I had an agreement with him, 3 minutes.
Okay.
But he says something
Yes.
and then you walk away.
Ah, okay.
We're gonna debate about your Muhammad. Look, he
Doesn't want to engage with you. What's the debate?
Doesn't want.
Why do you think that is, Kryptonite? Why do you think he doesn't want to debate you?
Because
Why?
Because I have something.
Yes.
No, so I have a how you say that? I have the papers,
Evidence.
gonna destroy his Islam,
Okay.
his Muhammad, and his Allah.
Ah,
He's afraid.
That's why.
He's
Oh,
afraid.
Okay.
Why he's not talking to me?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Really?
Yeah. 'Cause
3 minutes. He gonna walk. He gonna speak. I'm gonna shut up.
How many minutes?
2, 3, 5.
Ah, okay. 3 minutes.
You
Okay.
speak,
Let's try again. Maybe this time.
Ali, look. Muhammad, look. Let me.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Would you have a sex with 9-year-old child like Muhammad? Why your Quran allows you 65-4, allow marry with a child and become a pedophile? Why?
Is that true, Laming?
Why your Quran 65 and 4
I don't believe it.
allows you marry with a child
I don't believe
and
it.
become a pedophile? Look, it's evidence.
Is that evidence? Laming, is that true, Laming?
Lamin, you want to talk?
Laming, is that true?
Lamin.
Wow. Wow, they're all running away. Kryptonite.
Ali.
Try the Shias.
Ali. Shall we debate our debate?
Debate him, Ali. Come on, man.
Come. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. Look at here. Here's Muhammad right here. Ali Dawa.
Ali.
Am I talking?
Bora, stop running.
Ali Dawa. Would you have a sex with 9-year-old child and become a pedophile?
No response. Salam. Salam. Hey, Salam Kona.
He's afraid.
He's afraid.
Ali, why are you afraid? Look
Why?
at him. Look at his nose. Would you
Did you blow the Satan out of your nose? Did you blow the Satan out of your nose?
He barks like a dog.
Look. Satan is in his nose.
Is that true, Ali?
Look at his nose.
Alright. I don't believe him.
I have to put my handcuff. One minute. I have to put my handcuff.
Come here, boy.
One moment.
Come here, boy. Good boy. Come here.
Ask here, donkey, come.
Come here, boy.
Come here,
Come
donkey.
here, boy. Come here, Ah, he's got something to play with.
What's that for, Kryptonite?
Careful to the
Muhammad said
Yeah.
that Satan stays whole night in his nose.
Ah, okay.
I want to check his nose. Did he blow the Satan out of his nose or not?
Okay.
Why devil loves so much the nose of Muslim?
Yeah,
Is there a diamond, gold? What is there in the nose? What's the speciality?
Who knows the answer? Who knows the answer?
Too much.
Who knows the answer?
Ali Dawah.
Look how he's tackling and he has more of the way. He's tackling the Christian brother, I think. Is that Christian?
Ali, look up. Look
Come
up.
here, boy.
Look up.
Come
Look
here,
up.
boy.
Look up. I want to look your nose.
Hey, debate him, Ali, bro.
You want to debate?
Come here, boy.
You want to debate?
No, but he said 3 minutes, he said.
Yeah, we do.
I stand for justice, my brother. You know?
Ali, come on, debate him,
Bro,
bro.
he's afraid.
Why?
He's afraid because Islam will be exposed.
Get out of here, you fake ass Christians, man. You guys are a disgrace to Jesus. You're a disgrace to Jesus. Clowns. Clowns all over you.
Yo, Muhammad was a
God bless
clown.
Palestine. You're a fake Christian. Fake ass Christian. Any real Christian know you're fake.
What is Ali?
Just to check for spelling. He's just checking his spelling, his grammar, that he's right.
You wrote
He wants to see where Moses raised the
Make sense. That's what
No,
I'm
makes
asking.
sense.
Why would he read it?
Because Trinity damaged the brain. For that, my question not make sense.
The Trinity-
I said, my question, show me a single proof where Moses, he was reading.
Why would he be
from-
reading it?
His logic he given to the
He
people.
read the
So why would he then
commandments.
be reading it if he wrote it?
Okay, he can't. The people they can't make mistake. They can't forget.
So you want
Is
him
the people
to write
is the,
that Moses
Did they see the
read
right?
the book
Did
and
they
he
see
gave
the
it-
right? Did they see the right?
So you,
Did they see the right?
I'm asking for
Did they
clarity.
see the right? I didn't see the right. I said, show me a single proof where Moses he was reading from the Old Testament, the book who gave it to the people, and show me a single proof from Jesus he was reading from New Testament. That's it. That's my question. Answer, please.
But the logic is flawed. One, because Moses
Wait,
couldn't
wait,
have
wait,
read,
wait.
Moses could not have read from the Old Testament because half the stories came after him. Jesus couldn't have read from the New
Is
Testament
the five book-
because the New Testament was written
Is
after
the
him.
five book?
So how
Is the
your
five
logic
book?
is-
Wait. Is the five book of Moses? They were after him.
You said the Old Testament.
Is the five books?
You said the Old
Is the
Testament.
five book?
he meant
The
the
first
five book.
is Genesis.
To
The first book.
clarify
Is the Torah?
your
Is the
statement.
Torah? Is the Torah
The
from Moses or
Torah.
not?
Did you say the Old Testament?
I mean the Torah.
Okay, so be correct
Okay.
in your
Wait.
question.
Yes, specific, yeah.
My question again.
Yes.
Show me a single proof
Yes.
where Moses he was reading from the Torah,
Yes.
and show me a single proof where Jesus he was reading from the New Testament.
So are you aware the New Testament is based on the life of Jesus? So therefore it was written afterwards.
Did I ask you that?
You said the New
I
Testament.
said to you,
I'm sorry.
no, you just give to the people this New Testament. Who give to the people this New
What is the
Testament?
New Testament?
Who give to the people New Testament?
What is the New Testament?
Who give to the people New Testament?
What's the New
You ask
Testament,
me
Sam?
question.
You
You ask
don't,
me
if you don't know what the
question.
New Testament is,
I know what
What
it
is
is.
it?
Stupid.
Tell me, answer my question.
The
Show me a
listen
single
to what I
proof.
said.
Single.
I said
Listen,
the
listen.
New Testament.
Show me a single proof.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Show
I
me.
said-
Listen,
show me
Sam,
from-
listen,
show
Sam.
me from the Sarah, from the good news who Jesus gave was reading from it. Oh,
How can you read something? How can you read something?
Who give it then?
From his
He
2000
recited
Who give it then? Okay, well, he recited it. Then show me a single proof when he was reciting it.
Because his words were the gospel.
Is that with the disciple who was writing this gospel, he was writing from his mouth or from the mouth from someone else?
They were writing the life and the words of Christ.
From him or from someone else?
From Christ.
From Christ. Then Christ, he was speaking.
Yes.
then they wrote what he said.
30 years
Okay,
after he died.
did he can, the people, they can forget, then he can repeat same thing, yes or no?
Repeat what you said. That didn't make sense.
Oh, that not make sense.
I said repeat
because
that
from
bit.
your brain. I said, show me a single proof where Moses, he was
No, we're
reading
talking
from
about
the
Jesus
Torah.
first.
And
Jesus
no,
first. Don't
my
go to
question,
Moses.
I asked you first about
Yes, but we're just
the
talking
Torah.
right now.
Now,
You see, don't jump yet.
No,
Don't
I'm
jump.
not jumping.
We're talking about Christ.
Listen,
Let's stick with Christ first.
Did I ask you? Did I ask you a question?
For 5 minutes. We were
Did
talking
I
about
ask you?
Moses,
Did
about
I ask
Christ.
you?
Now you're jumping to
No,
Moses.
no. Did
Because
I ask
you realised what
my
you said didn't make
question?
sense.
Not lie. My
Stay
question.
with Jesus.
My
Stay
question.
with Jesus.
My
Stay with
question.
Jesus.
show
Stay
me-
with Jesus.
My question.
Stay with Jesus.
My question
No,
was
stay
show
with
me a
Jesus
single
first.
proof from. It's in the camera.
We'll go to Moses next. But let's start with
no,
Christ.
start from.
No. We're
It
talking
was
about,
my
you
first
see,
question.
we
It was
can
my
jump-
first
we can
question.
discuss both, but you're jumping.
I thought it was my first question.
No.
It was my first question.
You said both.
You can't answer.
You said both.
You can't answer.
No.
Bye.
You see?
Oh,
We're running away.
Sam, why, Sam?
You
Wrap
can't
up.
answer a single question. Okay, you not have a single proof. You not have answer question. You had the Holy Spirit.
You're
I
not
don't have the Holy
listening.
Spirit.
I know you
Oh,
don't.
okay,
Even
answer.
dumber arguments. We were talking about Christ.
Answer my question.
You asked
We're
me
talking about
Christ.
Moses.
No.
I talk about Moses.
We'll
first.
talk about that then.
No,
Why did you jump?
Answer Moses.
Machine gun
and
questions.
answer
When I said
said
what you
relax.
said doesn't make sense, then you jump back to Moses.
exactly.
So why?
Oh, it makes sense.
I said it
Did
didn't
you
make
show me-
sense, and then you went
Did you
to
show me a
Moses.
single proof?
I'm saying to you,
Because my question is
I
both.
asked you, what
both.
is your definition? What is the New
both.
Testament?
Do him in
You
one
know,
What is the New Testament?
You know
What
my
is the
question.
New Testament?
You asking me question.
Yeah.
You're asking me, I'm asking you, do you understand
No,
what the New
answer my
Testament is?
question, then I will answer yours. Answer my question. Answer my question, then I will
I
answer
said
yours.
the premise of your question is flawed.
Why? Why?
So why is it flawed? But maybe answer. Maybe you sort of speak to the camera.
Why is it below? Why is it? Do a wrap up. Maybe I
I
need
think
those.
his question is very flawed, and he realised because Christ, the New Testament is based on the words and the life of Christ and the
written after
explanation.
Jesus.
It was written afterwards, so therefore Christ cannot read from something that was written after him.
Yeah.
The same as Moses when he said Moses. Let me see where he was reading the New Old Testament, but the Old Testament was written after him. So
Yes.
we have to clarify what is your
Yes.
understanding of the statements you're making. You can very easily say these statements.
Yeah.
And what we see, if we apply the same logic to Muhammad, let's see where Muhammad was reading from the Quran. We will not see any.
Go on, Sam.
Against more stupidity.
From the Quran.
Go on, Sam. Go on, Sam.
Can you show me evidence?
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was reciting the Quran, and Quran, look how much is easy. And
Can you give me evidence?
Show us.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was reading the Quran all
Can you give me evidence?
Okay,
give me evidence. Give me evidence.
Ramadan. No, when you give me evidence about my question,
They cannot.
I can't.
Okay,
I
show me.
challenge you. Show me first.
No,
Show
you
me
show
first.
me.
No,
You
show me
show
first. Show me first.
You show me.
For respect.
You show me.
If you are human and for respect, show me.
He's showing you far more respect than you showed him.
No,
because the
for
problem is
respect.
this.
He's asking for evidence. You ask for proof.
For respect, you have to answer my question and to show me proof.
Can I ask you a
then
question?
I will ask you my question.
Can I ask you a question?
No,
Is
answer my
Muhammad in the Torah?
Answer my first.
Is Muhammad in the
that's a
Torah?
simple
I
question.
don't need your
That's a
Torah to
simple
show me
question.
Muhammad is
Is he in it?
exist.
No,
I
I'm
said,
asking you, is
I
he in
question,
it?
simple
Why
question.
you deviating? Answer
I'm
my
asking
question.
you, is
Show
he in
me,
it? Is
show
he
me
in it,
my
yes or no?
question. Show me a
Is he
single.
in it, yes or
Show
no?
me a single
Yeah.
question.
Is he
Why you
in it?
deviate?
Is he in it?
Why are you?
I'm asking.
You with your
I'm
Holy,
asking you.
with your
I'm
Holy
asking
Spirit.
you.
Answer
You
my
see,
question.
I answered you.
For
I'm
res-
asking you. Is he in the
For
Old Testament?
respect.
Is Muhammad
For
in the Torah?
respect. For respect.
Is Muhammad in the Torah?
Sorry.
Is Muhammad
rolling
in
the
the
arse
Torah?
For respect.
Is Muhammad in the Torah?
For respect.
Is Muhammad in the
For
Torah?
respect. Answer my question and I will answer
Is
you.
Muhammad in the Torah?
Answer my
No, no, no.
question and I answer you.
Answer.
Why?
You need to
Why?
leave Allah
Why?
to preserve the Old
If you are a
Testament.
human and
Is
you have a
Muhammad in the
single,
Torah?
single
Is
cell
Muhammad
brain,
in the Torah?
you will answer my question.
I'm asking.
For
Wait.
respect, answer my question and
If you are honest, answer the question.
If you are honest, you have to answer
Is
my
Muhammad
question.
in the Torah?
Answer my
Is
question.
Muhammad in the Torah?
Answer my question
Is
and I
Muhammad-
will.
No, is Muhammad. Okay. You don't
Miracles. The question asking how. Asking how.
It doesn't matter anyway. So you believe that he was on a donkey and he flew to heaven? Donkey cannot How do you fly? How do you I can't.
There you go.
I'm not the false prophet Muhammad.
Your hadith is telling me. Your hadith is telling me.
Can you record?
Sorry, Ross.
Record this, right?
Yeah. We're all listening now.
Listen.
We're listening.
Last week, wait.
Bated breath.
Last week, this guy lied about me, and I made a video.
Paperboy.
COE.
Okay.
Right. Made COE. Right. This guy, and what's this guy?
Paul Williams.
And Paul Williams and was. Paul Williams.
Paul Williams.
Steve.
Yeah.
So, where is the evidence? Make an allegation against me. And he told last week I was banned from speaking school. Look, I'm here. I'm still here.
Okay.
So where did you get that information from? Where did you get that information from? I was banned. I'm still there.
Now,
Bishop Studies over there. I'm not banned.
Wait. He doesn't want me to respond. He doesn't want me. He's made a statement. He doesn't want me to respond.
Let me ask the question.
Let me respond.
Let me ask the question. So now you lied last week's video, say I was banned, right? An allegation against me. So I'm still here. If this is a piece of society around somewhere, then I'm still there. Until 1 o'clock, I was there. So you
that's not the allegation, is it? That's not the allegation, though,
okay,
is it?
wait. Let me respond.
Let me respond.
Let me respond.
I will. Wait. I will.
Point.
He was 100% sure. He was 100% sure I was banned, and he allied with Steve
and now this is
why
the thing.
Did you?
Can you tell everyone on camera this timestamp of when I said you were banned, because that never came from my mouth. So can you tell everyone? Alright, you see, he's now lied and said I'm the one who said it. But he's now been exposed as a liar himself. Takia. Now he's in the box. Can you tell everyone why you are in court?
In court.
Extremist action.
Show it. Fact check.
Let's have a look.
Let's fact check.
Point issue, I made a clarification video in COE. Don't watch that.
We watched it
and you came late. I have to go home now.
You have to go home. Can you who is this person? Can you tell us who is this person? Who is this person? Who is this person?
Do you have a tag?
Who is this person? Who is this person? You see? We were exposed. Now come and stand and tell us why are you in court?
Yeah, why?
Why are you in court?
Tell us.
Tell us why you're in court.
Fake news.
You see?
Is that it? Can you tell us?
Tell us why you look. Fake news.
Fake news.
Look. Come on. You see? What? Look at that. Extremists in the park. Like, you see, when we ask him, he doesn't want to explain why he's in court. He said it's home time.
No, prayer time.
Why are you in court? Can you tell us why you're in court? You approached us in front of the cameras. Now when we're asking why are you in court? Can you tell us why you're in court?
Very fascinating links.
Why you're in court? We don't care about
terrorist links.
Tell us
extremist links.
Tell us why you're in court.
Why you in court?
Did I?
Extremist links.
Did I? Alright, you see? Notice the straw man.
Exactly.
Notice the deflection that this guy is coming, trying to say I lied about something that didn't come from my mouth.
Indefensible.
Will you tell us?
Look, feel that handshake.
MashaAllah. Camera when? Expose him.
Unexposed. You're the one that's exposed.
I'm coming next week too.
You do that, but you're exposed. We know who you are, we know what you are.
Can you tell us why you were at the Saleh Kaita?
Exactly.
What's that? Exactly. Defending him at court. What were you doing there?
Defending who? Defending who?
Oh, I wonder.
Saleh Kaita, one of the London Bridge attackers.
Wow.
Why was he
right.
See?
Hey, we got him.
Look at him running away. Look at him running away. Look at him running away.
Running.
And we see more.
Run, Forest.
Look at that. Abu Qasim with Abdul
Back to
Hakim
his curfew.
together.
Wow.
You see?
Lovely
But
couple.
when we asked them the question, and this is what I said, how is it that these people are coming to the park and the Muslims are not aware of this? Because actually there is something I was going to bring up. So here we have from Paul Williams.
Yep.
And this is what he put on his Facebook.
What did he put?
So he said, this is around the time when Abdul Hakim came to the park.
Alright.
He says, I am a member of SCL Speakers Corner London, a closed group on Facebook run by the Muslim speakers. The admins include well-known personalities such as Hashim, Mansour, Hamza and others. And he said, yesterday I posted several articles on the group about events the day before. All the articles were deleted without warning and without explanation by Hashim, the well-known speaker and lead group admin. The action has opened a can of worms that in hindsight might prove to be a good thing. The first censured article was entitled Humiliating a Woman at Speaker's Corner. In it, I described how an older woman who came to Speaker's Corner to support free speech was subjected to humiliation and abuse by a handful of Muslims. My article was originally published on this blog here. Hashim, the admin, told me this evening that my article was deleted because sympathising with Islamophobe is not in line with the ethos of this group. And I've got more. So he continues and it says, in fact, I was showing my outrage at how a human being had been publicly humiliated and expressing my disgust at the violation of her dignity and rights. But clearly for Hashim, only Muslims and pro-Islam non-Muslims are worthy of justice and decent treatment. Then he goes on and says the other post was by a cut and paste job of an article by a Jewish friend of mine, Joseph, who praised the restraint shown by Muslims in the face of far-right provocation, but was very critical of one particular Muslim who behaved very violently on Sunday. Hashim deleted this excellent post and rebuked me. He said, our aim is to please Allah through our dawah efforts and not to air our dirty laundry in public. This bizarre accusation, as the individual was not named and appeared in a private closed group, hardly public. And then he concludes by saying, I have written this in despair at the prevailing ethos amongst Muslims at Speaker's Corner. There are a number of significant exceptions. I note the following problems: the abject failure to confront extremism in our midst, the turning of a blind eye to violence of individuals we team up with, the craven censorship of articles written on a private Muslim forum that dare to question the prevailing silence about our own demons. And then he says, the failure to acknowledge the behaviour, that to behave in the way some people did on Sunday was an absolute PR disaster. In truth, this shows that the SC closed group is nothing more than a mouthpiece for a particular ideology. So clearly, what we see is that Paul was part of this private group of Muslims in the park of the Dawah team, and he raised his concerns about the extremists in the park and the treatment of people within the park. But what did they do? They ignored him and they deleted his post and they ostracized him. That's why you do not see Paul with the Dawah members. So this is people like Mansour, Hashim, and obviously in my video last week I didn't name them, but I should have. So we have people like Hashim and Mansour and Hamza, people who are aware of what's going on in the park, but then try and underplay it and brush it under the carpet. So when we're kind of coming up and asking them to expose these people, behind the scenes, they are saying that you should not expose these people. And as Paul's video last week, he said that they brought him hadiths to say that you should not report on another Muslim. And there's even video footage of Abdul Hakim being approached and asked the same thing, and he himself said he would not report
a fellow Muslim if he knew they were going to commit a terrorist act. And this is someone who was associated with Anjem Chowdhury and the London Bridge attackers. So how can this all go under the noses of the Islamic Dawah team? And this includes people like Adnan Rashid, who defended Abu Qasim, but then it came to light that he was in court on extreme terrorism charges. So how can this be possible? But then he goes around to innocent Christians, calls them Islamophobes and hate preachers. So this is why we're making a stand to call out their hypocrisy. And we have the information that they control these things within their own Islamic Facebook group to control what is being spoken out against. So clearly we're seeing a double standard within the Islamic Dawah team. They're very quick to approach non-Muslims and atheists, call them Islamophobes and such, but then when we have extremists in the park, where are they? They're silent. I've never seen Adnan Rashid go up to a Muslim extremist in this park in the same way he did with Hatun, or Katie Hopkins, or James, or Kalam, or Gary Google, all these different people. So clearly we're calling the Islamic Dawah team to account and speak up for themselves. That's why they just run away when we approach him. Abdul Qasim, he tried to come and say that I lied and said that he was banned from the park, but these were not words from my mouth. But then when I asked him why was he in court on extremist and terrorism charges, he said it was home time and he did a shamsi. So clearly, what's going on? And this is why we call on the Muslims and the Dawah team to expose these people and their ideologies. So
thank you, Paperboy.
We want Hashim, Mansour, Adnan, Hamza to account for themselves. Why are they limiting the speech, and why are they trying to suppress what's going on in the park? Are they not concerned with the British public?
That's right. Come on, Paperboy.